world gone insane. An upside-down civilization cannot be real. A world of madness and terror.
It's the Dana Gould Hour.
Well, it's that time again. What time, you ask? I don't know. But in the meantime, we're going to do another podcast. So let's get at it. I am sorry about the downtime in between shows, but we've been busy little bees here at the Dana Gould Hour. Many things happening, and I'm eager to share them with you, and I will, as soon as they are concrete, which they are as yet not. But hang tight, if you please. On March 29th, I was in Seattle at the Neptune Theater filming my new special, I Know It's Wrong. That special will be available soon on Netflix and as a DVD right here through the site, so keep your eyes peeled. Also, we have a new service available to all of you. Donate to the show. I know, I can hear you already. Gee, thanks. Well, here's the deal. This show is not a cash cow by any stretch, but we do love doing it. There are costs to keep it going at the quality level that I like to have it at. So, if you'd like to contribute via PayPal, or even become a member, which entails a small monthly donation, please feel free. We'd appreciate it, and all the money goes right back into the show. End of cup rattling. Thank God that's over. Eddie Pepitone is on assignment, but he will return next episode to be sure. But you're in good hands nonetheless. Our topic today, murder, etc. Joining me is Michelle McNamara, online detective and author of TrueCrimeDiary.com. Comedian extraordinaire Matt Braunger is with us. Matt and I will be performing together, well, not as a team, but on the same show, at the Bridgetown Comedy Festival in Bridgetown, Oregon, April 18th through the 21st. And comedian Matt Weinhold, please do yourself a favor and hear his comedy CD, Dead Funny, available on iTunes. And on YouTube, his new show, Monster Party. Also, comedian Amber Tozer, creator of @NitTwitsTV, where tweets become sketches. And lastly, but certainly not leastly, comedian Monika Scott. Monika is not only hilarious in her own right, but she comes to us from the far-out world of National Public Radio, Los Angeles' own KCRW. But enough of that. Let us get on with the show. My guests today are author, crime blogger, and dare I say, murder enthusiast, Michelle McNamara.
This is the sound of my voice.
And also, comedian, raconteur, murder enthusiast, Matt Braunger.
This is the sound of my voice.
I am also joined by comedian, writer, actor, and murder enthusiast, Matt Weinhold.
That works perfectly because you're dead to me.
Thank you. So, Michelle,
Yeah.
you recently wrote an article in Los Angeles Magazine. For those of you who want to read the article, it is the March 2013 issue.
Correct. It's called In the Footsteps of a Killer.
In the Footsteps of a Killer. And in which you discuss taking it upon yourself to catch a serial killer that is currently at large.
Definitely at large.
Here in the state of California.
Wow.
Now, odds are the serial killer can read the article, see who wrote it. That was the first thing that I thought. Do you have elaborate security precautions at your home?
We have Mossad-level security at our
Okay.
house. Yes. If he's listening, we have really great security at our house.
Yeah, if he was listening, you wouldn't say, not a thing. Or we have an eye hook on a screen door, but it's usually open.
Husband's out of town, come on by. No, it's really good security. Also, there's really not many examples of a journalist being killed by a serial killer.
Yeah, except in Russia, where they're killed by Vladimir Putin.
Right, but that's more keep business
Yeah,
wheels
it's just-
turning than
Yeah.
the sadistic ambitions of one crazy person.
That's right. In Russia, if you wrote that the line at the post office was long, someone might put a radioactive isotope in your freeze pop. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. Have you ever seen a dead body? Best pickup line ever.
Well, you mean outside a casket?
Yes.
No.
Matt Braunger, ever seen a dead body outside a casket?
Yes.
Of a person?
Yes.
Do tell.
Car crash when I was a kid.
Really?
Oh boy, trying to think. A I think that's the only one I can think of offhand. But,
Driver of the car, passenger in the car.
driver of the car, thrown free, lying on the highway, and winding through the woods of Oregon in a car with my parents, and just idyllic, nothing but evergreen trees, and then just going around a corner, and there's just a guy laying there with like a lot of his head all over the road. Yeah, and like my mom just, her immediate like, oh, like grab my son and cover his eye. Like I was pretty young, I think, but it was just like snap, like immediately.
Really?
Here's
you
death.
have recall, like you definitely remember it.
Oh yeah, I remember all the blood. I remember he was bald. He had hair on the side of his head.
Well,
and was
naturally.
kind of a heavier man. Yeah. So I don't know.
Really? And how old were you?
Oh, like 7, maybe.
Were you the first people on the scene, or were there other people there?
They had just arrived, so we just shot by him. We just drove right by him, and then
It would have been funny if he was just started to get up and you just clipped him in your hurry, in your rush.
we finished the job. Yeah.
Wow.
My folks arguing. My dad's like, I didn't want him to suffer. Come on.
Do you sometimes put him down? Do you sometimes feel that the spirit of the man entered your body, not unlike the Indian in the beginning of the movie The Doors? Yeah. And is this, please tell me, I'm just guessing, one of many similarities between your life and that of Jim Morrison?
Yes, just one of many. He obviously got the cooler ghost. No, it's like Jim.
That's debatable.
No, but there'd never be a story where he'd be like, a postal worker died and went in me. Like, oh, it had to be a Native American.
Yeah, of
Jim,
course,
that's
yeah.
how you're attached to the earth, and you're very cool. And
Exactly. There's a comedian named
yeah.
Bob Nickman that had a really brilliant observation that when people have a past life, they're always Cleopatra.
Yes.
And no one is ever a plumber in Cleveland in the 50s. And how did you die, O spirit? I put copper wire on PVC tubing. Matt, have you ever seen a dead body outside of the casket?
Once I was in a supermarket and a woman dropped dead. Yeah.
whoa.
She just fell.
With savings? You'll drop dead with savings.
It was one of those instant coupons, and she, the flashing red light locked her, started a seizure, out cold.
That's amazing. Really?
Yeah, and so me and my douchey friend, we all just hung around. We're in high school, so this was the greatest thing ever. And then the cops came, the ambulance came, paramedics, and it was just like, this is great.
Wow.
No one told me murder is this much fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
I will say this. I once had to identify the body of a man pulled out of a lake where I worked as a lifeguard.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
Oh.
but I was not on duty at the time, so I take no blame.
But like wet dead is bad.
Wet dead is not great.
I literally thought you were about to say, I was not on duty at the time, so I identified him as the wrong person.
That's a kiver.
I
That's
was
not
so
a man.
mad. They brought me in on my day off.
Oh, that's grim. Michelle, oddly enough, you who have never seen a dead body outside of a casket, the only one at the table who hasn't, yet you seem to be spending the most time around the concept of dead bodies. How did this fascination start with the Golden State Killer?
Specifically with him or with murder in general?
Well, let's go back to murder in general and then
murder in
work
general-
forward.
I was a 14-year-old girl, and
We all were at one point.
Still am. Inside.
A neighbor of mine was murdered, and I was kind of obsessed with the crime. I went to the crime scene. I picked up pieces of her Walkman. I became really gripped by it, and it just became this fascination that never...
For those of you who don't know, a Walkman is an ancient device that predated the iPod, much in the way the cinematograph predated your iPad.
Held one album at a time.
And she was murdered, knife, stabbed, shot, strangled.
Yeah, and it was weird. It was a low-risk, very little crime neighborhood. She was out jogging, and she was pulled into an alley, and her throat was cut. It was terrible, but he was never caught. And so it was just this very strange mystery. It never happened again. It was very weird, like Who Among Us?
And you were how old at this point?
14.
So yeah, that's a delicate time where the fabric of the safety of your reality is torn. That's not supposed to happen around you when you're 14.
Right.
And it's sort of the safety bubble is burst.
Yeah. So, and specifically with the Golden State Killer, when I started doing interviews with law enforcement over the last couple of years, he would come up a lot because they're all kind of obsessed with him. The public doesn't know about him that much. So I became kind of interested in the case, basically, because he has more victims than the Zodiac, Son of Sam. I mean, he's he was really prolific. He just was never caught.
Look, he has a work ethic. And your blog is called
True Crime Diary.
True Crime Diary. And this was just something that you started doing and then fell into your sort of casework on the Golden State Killer. You covered other things as well.
Yes, right,
Yeah.
correct.
And for those of you who don't know, your husband is comedian Patton Oswalt. When you first meet Patton, and he says, like, so I'm a comedian, what do? You say, I write a true crime blog?
You mean when people first meet me? And
Yeah. Oh, like when you're dating, like under the auspices of dating.
The blog came after we got married.
Okay.
But we did bond early about crime because he, for a layperson, he knows a lot. I would say for your average, he knows a lot about that stuff. He was wrong about certain things, and I had to correct him. But yeah, we bonded over that. So yeah.
I always thought this was interesting. There's a big house in Bel Air that decorates for Halloween, and they put gravestones in their front yard, and they're labeled, they're just hand done. And this is like Frankenstein, Dracula, the Wolfman, the Mummy, and then on one of them it just says Manson.
Oh God.
Who's not a monster, not dead.
Not dead. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, not to get crazy off course here, but when I was
No, please. The whole point is to get off course.
in the song "Straight Outta Compton," Ice Cube has a lyric where he says, "Here's a murder rap to keep you dancing with a crime record like Charles Manson." He doesn't have that big of a crime record.
No, in fact,
he got it for the one thing, put in jail.
And I don't even think he killed anybody.
No, he commanded people.
Yeah, he's more of a murder life coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've often wondered, because he still is eligible for parole every couple of years, if he does get his hopes up. Like the night before, is he in the mirror, like pretending, Charles Manson, Charlie Manson.
Is he trying to cover up the X?
Yeah, he's banged.
He forgets about the swastika. And
Bangs.
Then he goes to comb his hair and goes,
He's always busy rehearsing the day job he's going to get when he's out of jail. Charles Manson, Emerson Drywall. Come on in.
There's a guy in Portland, where I'm from, who has a company called Mike's Killer Bread. And he's like an ex-con. And he makes his bread, and it's really good bread. And when my mom told me about that, because she works with ex-cons, that she was like, I was like, he didn't go in for like manslaughter. She's like, no, like, okay. Like, that would be so distasteful.
Yeah,
like,
right, yeah.
I murdered someone, and here's my killer bread. Now it's just so delicious, it's killer.
I shaved kernels of corn to look like a tooth.
And in every 7 loaves, there's a real tooth. I am now joined by comedian and National Public Radio bigwig, Monika Scott.
This is the sound of my voice.
I am also joined by comedian and creator of the web series Nitwits, Amber Tozer.
This is the sound of my voice.
Now, have you ever seen a dead body not in the casket? Amber.
No.
Ugh, I wish.
Goodbye.
Never.
You neither?
No.
Really?
I mean, not in person.
Yeah.
No.
Not in a casket?
Yeah, like on the street?
No.
I mean, I've seen people that have been like hit by cars, and I'm not sure
They're
the
down.
situation is.
That is a weird thing when you see somebody like, no.
And like other people were checking in, so I just left the situation.
Did you see the actual hit, or did you just see the...
There was once where I saw the hit, and that was traumatic. So I just bailed because other people were stopping. And I just couldn't deal with the
That's
rest.
how I know you're not a Scientologist, because they would have run out of the car and healed them with their
Right,
power vision.
With their science powers.
Did you know that? They have science powers that can heal. It's
Yeah,
called
of
a...
course. Thetan? No, I don't know what. I don't know any.
it's called an assist.
Oh, that's...
They'll give you
are
an
you thinking
assist.
of basketball?
Yeah. I'm
No,
like-
no. Read that book.
Oh, yeah, I've only read half of it, and it's a little too troubling.
Yeah. The cover of that book should be a screw and a plus sign and a ball.
Oh, maybe it is. You just have to put it under a black light.
But I will say I met Tom Cruise and he was wonderful.
Oh, they're always really nice.
He was wonderful. It was the most handshake ever.
What?
The most smile ever. He won at meeting me.
He gives like really intense eye contact.
It was,
too,
yeah,
doesn't
no,
he?
I
You're
felt I felt like I wanted to just sit
Marry
down
him?
and have a
You felt
cigarette after.
in
And
love
I
with him?
don't even smoke, but I just felt like we'd had a moment that really meant something.
Does it make you want to like inquire about Scientology, or
No.
did you? I sat next to one on a plane once, and I almost emailed him just to like.
Really?
How did it come up that he was a Scientologist?
It just sort of. Well, he was really friendly, and we just started talking, and we hit it off. And he didn't bring it up right away, but eventually he did. He was a motivational speaker.
There you go.
Yeah. And so he was on his way to a seminar, and he gave me his card, and I was like, maybe I'm going to email him. I just wanted to know more. I'm very gullible, but I was like, maybe this will change my... But I know it's crazy. In my head, I'm like always searching for help, but I was like, oh, I didn't email him.
Did he have... You don't have to tell me his name, but I believe that all motivational speakers should have like names like Brock Power. You know?
Oh, that was him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy. That's him.
Yeah.
I don't remember his name.
Brick Force. Yeah, just something. Instead of like, name Ned Hansen.
Yeah,
Motivational
something
speaker.
kind of nebbishy is not very motivating.
And you can't have a nebbishy voice. Even if you're very powerful, you can't have a voice like,
Yeah.
this is how you take your life by the reins.
You're like, oh, whatever.
Now, we were talking about serial killers. And there are certain people that are somewhat obsessed with them. Amber, are you one of those people?
I'm more interested in like their childhood and what happened, or what's wrong with their brain.
Right. Is there evil, or are they all just something for Cocoa Puffs?
I think that's definitely what it is, though. Like, I don't know that there are evil people. There's just sick people.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, they're mentally ill. Like that part of their brain is not developed. Whatever it is to have like empathy and compassion, they don't have it.
But can't you say that Hitler was crazy and evil? I mean, at a certain point, don't you qualify?
Yeah, I guess
Pol
so.
Pot.
I mean, but his sickness made him evil. Like one was caused
Yeah.
by the other.
You don't
Hitler-
think he's like possessed by a demon type of evil?
That's an interesting theory about Hitler. Like, if in the middle of one speech he was just like going off, and in the middle of it, just, I don't want to be this person. And then right back,
He had a spiritual awakening.
Please help me.
I had a moment of clarity.
wait, everyone's a child of God? No, that's crazy. I don't know where I was going with that.
That could be an L. Ron Hubbard book. Hitler had a moment of clarity.
Well, he just made stuff up.
Yeah.
People can substitute their toes for AA batteries. Oh, all right. You sort of buried the lead on that when you said my mom works with ex-cons.
Yeah.
And then you breezed right past it.
Oh, well, she's a retired English professor, and she helps men and women that are coming out of prison put resumes together.
Oh, I was
To
going to say.
get real
She
jobs.
helps men and women that are just coming out of prison find out the meaning of Steinbeck's The Pearl.
Yes. That's no, it's just not as romantic as that. Just kind of like helping them put on a page, and how to deal with employers and be honest about like their past and all that jazz. Because
When you're covered in tats, and you get out of prison, your job options are immediately limited.
Oh, yeah.
To tilt-a-whirl
you can be a
operator.
You can always be a
Tattoo
carny.
parlor, anything tattoo related,
Yeah.
illustrated man.
It is awfully dicey.
Yeah.
But now, oddly enough, those people that are covered in tats, tend to be very scary. But serial killers, by and large, very mild-mannered looking.
Yeah, I would say so. It
They tend to be your Dahmers, they sort of fade into
They
the woodwork.
reserve the rage for their killings, I would say, for the most part. Yeah.
A friend of mine knew Jeffrey Dahmer. He grew up in Wisconsin. He was in high school, but right before, like maybe
Before he
got caught.
was Dahmer.
He knew him as Jeff. He still is like, and it was a guy who, and he didn't know him, but they'd all go get coffee after school, and Jeff, this older guy, would come in and be like, hey guys, what's happening? Like he was always kind of trying to hang around with the teenagers and stuff. And they just thought it was harmless, no, I'm never coming over, Jeff. One of those things, like this creepy weirdo. They had no idea, how much of a creepy weirdo he really was,
There is the story of the guy that escaped.
Yeah, God, that's so.
Oh, and then was
heartbreaking.
brought back.
Yeah,
And then the police.
police helped, right?
Yeah.
Get him back.
Helped him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent police work on that.
Now, there is, in the Bible, there is a famous story of a Roman soldier who stabbed Christ while he was on the cross. And if you look at the old drawings, he has a cut in his rib. That came from a Roman soldier.
Which was an act of mercy in those days.
It was an act of mercy. Also kind of a gnarly thing. I believe that guy that the police made go back in was the reincarnation of that soldier. This is what you get for stabbing Jesus. You've got to go back. And didn't he already have like staples in his head or something?
No, I don't know. But he was young. That was what was so outrageous. Is he was like a kid, and they believed Jeffrey Dahmer's story about it was my boyfriend, and he was like a 14-year-old kid or something. I mean, it
was so horrible.
Every part of it is just.
Can you imagine me, one of those cops, look at the paper like a week later, like, oh,
Yeah,
like just the feeling. You know what I mean? Because I think about that all the time, like carrying around. You know, we all carry regrets and guilt and stuff. But that one moment where you're like, oh, that person would have been alive if not for me. You know. Like, that's
ghastly.
Not going away.
Right. Anytime you watch any show that has to do with a criminal getting away, it just takes you right back to that moment.
Yeah.
Now, do you know what happened to those cops? That sounds like something that would be under your aegis.
Yeah, I know there was a big uproar about it, but I don't know what happened to them specifically now.
Yeah, a hullabaloo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I used to do a bit about the Dallas police detective that was handcuffed to Oswald when they were going through the garage, that in the photo is like trying to leap out of the way of Jack Ruby shooting the gun. And I used to do a bit about like that haunted him for the rest of his life, that his friends would just go into his office every day and make that pose. We're going to lunch now, Brian. Anybody want to go bowling this weekend? And I did a show in Addison, Texas, and a guy came up to me after the show, and he said, you know, that guy was my grandfather, and that's exactly what happened. Really? And apparently he was a real badass, and like, it really bothered him that everybody thought he was like, gay.
Yeah.
Because he was a Dallas police detective in the 1960s. He was like a tough-ass motherfucker.
Oh, wow.
But it's just that one little shot.
Not a lot of sense of humor about that. It's almost like how so much English humor is based on embarrassment.
Yes.
Because traditionally as a culture, they've been so afraid of embarrassment for so long. It's like that whenever the guy's like, I'm the toughest. And then they scream like a high-pitched scream.
It's a natural.
When you startle them, it never leaves them.
But but in that guy's defense, I mean, even as tough as you could possibly be, if you're handcuffed to another guy that's
it's
getting
horrible.
shot.
Oh, yeah, no,
I'm
it's
jumping out the
naturally
way.
Perfectly.
Yeah.
No, he had
Normal
nothing to be
to go,
ashamed
I'm
of. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah,
at all.
no. I don't mean
I
that.
think
like,
you guys are both total sissies.
Well, it's like there was that thing with when JFK was actually killed, where there's all these broadcasters. There was like Jackie climbing to help. So they made up this thing when she was just trying to get away.
Yes.
Which who could blame her?
It's actually a little bit more.
That's horrifying.
It's a little bit more grisly than
Okay.
that. Lenny Bruce got in a lot of trouble because they showed the frames of the Zapruder footage in Life magazine, and they said that she was going to get help. And Lenny Bruce did a bit that said she was hauling ass to save her ass,
right.
and why should she be embarrassed about getting out of the way of people shooting at her?
Absolutely.
You know, if my daughter was in the car, I would have did the same thing. As it turns out, it was an instinctive reaction. She was going to retrieve a big chunk of his brain that was on the hood of the car. As if to think we're going to need that.
Good
yeah,
God.
like that weird. All of a sudden, she's thrust into this strange cartoon moment of like, I can put it back in. You know, and then,
Oh yeah.
You know, when you talk about serial killers, people always mention Manson, who was not a serial killer.
Nope.
I don't think he killed anybody.
No.
Wore the hell out of some fringed suede.
Oh my God, so well.
Yeah.
If you look at any of those photos, he looked like Daniel Boone, but
Head to toe,
Yeah.
fringed suede.
yeah, he actually looked like young Santa, like Santa before he was gray, in a Daniel Boone outfit. Young Santa at a Halloween party or Western-themed wedding.
I mean, that sounds
He's
attractive.
super tiny. Is he short?
Yeah,
I feel
he
like
was
he's like my
5'4".
size.
I think he was 5'4". Manson only 5'4". Hitler one ball. Not a lot of
Coincidence?
people know.
So
What I'm saying is, let me finish. I'm finished. No, that is interesting. At what point do you just write them off and go like, you're evil too?
Right.
Evil. Who was H.H. Holmes?
Now,
Monika Scott.
H.H. Holmes was the serial killer in Chicago. He was like known for being America's first serial killer. And it was around the same time as all that Jack the Ripper nonsense was going on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In London, it was known as Jack the Ripper times.
Yes.
In America, it was known as Cowboy times.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And people were sort of like, whew, glad we don't have one of those.
Right.
But he was a doctor, and supposedly he was like really charming, and he had all these like young wives, and he was the one that built a weird murder castle in Chicago with like trap doors and like gas pipes so that he could just gas people. That book, Devil in the White City, yeah, is about him.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Well, now I'm going to read
So
it.
wait, he would capture people and keep them in the murder castle?
So yeah,
I like Myrtle Castle.
Myrtle Castle?
I mean, that sounds nicer. Kind of sweeter, really.
This is my Myrtle Castle.
Hi, I'm Myrtle.
we eat a lot of dairy.
The Castle of the Gassy. Where all lactose intolerant do come in.
Well, I think he originally was trying to build an apartment building, but then when the World's Fair was coming, decided to make it into a World's Fair hotel to attract more customers, quote unquote. But he just like murdered them constantly, like left and right.
How many people did he kill?
I don't know the exact number, but it's something like he confessed to 27, but people speculate from 27 to like 200.
How did he do it?
All different ways.
Really?
Yeah, like he...
In his Myrtle Castle.
Like he had like a kiln
He drowned
built
them
in
in
like
milk.
the basement so he could just push people in it. He had like a bloody operating table in there. All kinds of horrible things.
And here's the interesting thing about him. It was taken from his psychological profile, the now very common expression, sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't.
Not a lot of people know that.
No, it's true.
Wow. That's amazing.
There was one story, he like married a bunch of women too because he was so charming.
Uh-huh.
So he kept
That's how you do it.
he kept marrying women, just like murdering them. And like, I guess nobody was like, hey, you're marrying a lot of women in this town. And then
You're an
they
11
disappear.
times
So
widower.
he murdered his wives
Yeah.
and then would just get a new one?
Yep. But there was one woman that like, I think she wanted him to marry her because she was pregnant. And he said, I will marry you, but you have to have an abortion. And I'm a doctor, so I'll do it. And then he just like killed her.
Wait a minute. That's crazy. Let's break this down, please. Will you marry me? I'm pregnant. Sure. The first thing we have to do is get rid of the baby. Okay. Wait a minute. Stop tape. You're now out of it.
I can't believe she said okay.
Well, I think she just really wanted to marry him.
I think
That's
you have to be
amazing.
pretty charming.
He
to be
was
a
like
serial
Dexter.
killer.
He was like an old-timey Dexter.
That
I
is
want to meet him.
See, I want to meet the guy that puppeteers Grover. That's the difference between you and me, Amber.
I mean, we all have people we want to meet. It's no judgment between which is which.
Murder! 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 Murder!
Murder. Murder. Most foul. Well, I wouldn't say that. To me, murder most foul has to be something special. You know, like being pulled apart by a gorilla. In the ocean. While surfing. Anyway, there are few cases that are more fascinating than that of Michael Peterson. Duke University graduate, Vietnam veteran, retired Marine Corps captain. He returned to North Carolina where he wrote 3 successful books and wrote a column for the Durham Herald-Sun, where he was, among other things, highly critical of the Durham County District Attorney, a man named James Hardin, Jr. This was something that Michael most probably came to regret as, in 2002, James Hardin Jr. prosecuted Michael Peterson for the death of his wife. In December of 2001, Michael called 911 and reported that his wife, Kathleen, was unconscious and appeared to have fallen down a flight of stairs. The autopsy showed she had been drinking and taken a Valium, and that she had died of blood loss as a result of the lacerations at the top and back of her head. It seemed like a tragic accident.
Murder!
Well, that's what James Hardin Jr. thought. And Michael was put on trial.
Murder!
Yes, indeed. And so he was tried. But he was also put on trial for being bisexual, which the DA alleged, and about lying about his military service, and so on and so on and so on.
Murder!
Yeah. Anyway, the prosecution claimed a missing fireplace poker was the murder weapon, that he beat her on the head and that she had fallen down the stairs, even though the wounds were completely inconsistent with an attack of that sort, and the poker was eventually found to have no DNA on it. But still, the prosecution persisted. Peterson, the entire time, remained eerily calm.
Calm? Calm? Do murder and calm go together? Calm and murder?
No, they don't. But Peterson kept his cool, asserting that the DA was waging a personal vendetta based on his columns exposing the office's crooked and incompetent ways. And Peterson was right. For example, one of the prosecution team's key witnesses was the so-called blood spatter team, a group of self-proclaimed experts that supposedly proved that Kathleen's blood spatter pattern on the wall was consistent with a fireplace poker attack to the head. This, despite the fact that it obviously was not consistent with a fireplace poker attack to the head. And so it turned out, the blood spatter team was a gaggle of frauds, incompetent frauds. And one of the key members of the DA's prosecution team, Michael Nifong, later became the Raleigh-Durham district attorney. And when he was, he prosecuted, quite famously, the Duke lacrosse team for allegedly raping a stripper at a party. This, after he was presented with evidence that proved they were innocent. Evidence he then suppressed. Knowing they were innocent, he tried to convict them anyway. Fortunately, he was caught and convicted and disbarred. But Michael Peterson was right, and one would think he was getting obviously railroaded. But then one doesn't know about Elizabeth Ratliff. Elizabeth Ratliff was a close friend of Michael's from the early 80s, when he was living in Germany, working for the State Department. Michael and Elizabeth were very good friends. One night, Michael drove Elizabeth home after a dinner party, said goodnight, and the next morning Elizabeth was found dead, lying at the foot of her staircase. Sound familiar? Now, Michael was never charged with the crime. It was determined that Elizabeth Ratliff died of a brain hemorrhage. But the coincidence was creepy, to say the least. And the Raleigh-Durham DA managed to introduce the case at the trial, planting in the jurors the idea that Michael Peterson was a serial staircase killer. This is a legal device known as goo. Despite the fact that Elizabeth Ratliff's children went to live with Michael, came to call him dad and supported him in the face of the DA's insinuations, despite the fact that they never found a murder weapon, and that the linchpin of the prosecution's case, the blood spatter, was discredited as fraud. Michael Peterson was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Guilty. 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 Guilty.
Great story if it ends there, right? And you can see the story in the brilliant documentary The Staircase, which follows Michael and his lawyers from accusation through the trial. Now, how do you get a copy of The Staircase? It's quite simple, really. Just go to danagould.com, click on our Amazon link, and shop away. You get what you want at no extra charge, and we get a few shekels to keep the lights running. But, back to my original point. This story is not over. Michael Peterson appealed the verdict and lost. But, based on the fact that the blood spatter team was revealed to be a bunch of clowns, the prosecution team to be as crooked as the winner of a Crooked Thing contest, Michael Peterson was released from prison and is now awaiting a new trial. But the question persists. If Michael Peterson didn't do it, then who did? Who? And therein lies your hint. The leading suspect in the murder of Kathleen Peterson is an owl. No, it's true. Attorney T. Lawrence Pollard was going over the evidence list and came across two simple words: a feather. A microscopic owl feather and a sliver of wooden tree limb were found in a clump of Kathleen's hair that had been pulled out by the roots and were found clutched in her left hand. A later examination found 2 more feathers. It was also concluded that the gashes on Kathleen's head, while not conducive with those of a fireplace poker, were conducive with the wounds caused by the talons of an owl. That would also fit perfectly with the real blood spatter. That would imply she was attacked by an owl, ran into the house, ran up the stairs, fell, hit her head, and fell back down. And so, the Michael Peterson saga continues. The question, how will they ever get that owl up on the stand? Well, that is obviously easy. You tell him he gets to swear in on a Bible made of mice.
Welcome to Political Talk with 2 guys from Boston, a working man's look at the socio-political issues of our day. And now, Political Talk with 2 guys from Boston.
This is Political Talk with 2 guys from Boston. I'm Johnny Condon.
Robbie Sullivan here.
We're doing our take on the modern scene.
Yeah.
It's 2013.
Can you believe it?
Are you superstitious?
I am.
Because this year so far for me,
It's
I got to
weird.
tell you, has fucking sucked.
Yeah, it's weird. There's no doubt
This
about
week
it.
has been, I don't want to offend anybody, it's been like sucking shit out of a goat's ass.
Oh, well, that can be a nice weekend, but you don't want to do it all month.
No, it's one way to get into a frat.
Once you're in, you're in. And
Yeah.
you didn't have to do it.
Frat guys are so cool. Yeah, you weren't so cool when you were walking around the basement of the frat house. You got to sit on this banana and then you'll be cool. No, thanks. I'll live in the dorm.
Talk to Leonard. He went through it last year.
Yeah, I'll live in the dorm, thanks.
Yeah, you know what? They're going to add this up, and it doesn't add up.
Yeah, I'm a little old to be in a club.
Yeah, I don't think that the club's necessarily was drink. Okay, you won.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I was in the Mystery Solvers Club, and now I'm in the
Oh.
Alcohol Poisoning Club.
That's a nice club, both
I
of
got
them.
the rest of that.
Same
I'd
group,
like to
right?
figure that out, pretty much.
Oh, yeah, the Dennehy's are there, the Sullivans, the Fitzgeralds.
Yeah, the old joke. Call any number in South Boston and ask for Sully, and they'll say, he's at Fitzy's. Now, what superstitions do you believe in?
Well, like if my mother sees you walk in the front door of a house, right?
Right.
She won't let you leave out the back door.
Interesting.
If you do, she calls you back like she's got something for you and then goes out the front.
Like I always say, it's bad luck to fall under a ladder. Yeah, because you'll probably get a bucket of paint on your head one day.
Yeah.
That's not luck.
Yeah, the
That's
drill's
just,
going to fall and hit you.
Shit that happens.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
It's bad luck to saw your thumb off.
Yeah.
Yes, you're going to bleed out.
You remember Boggs would eat chicken every game.
Right.
Wade Boggs, he's ended up being one of them. But he was one of us for a long time.
Sure he was.
And he ate chicken before every game.
Interesting.
Then he went and had a lover. And his lover, he made wear a wig that made her look like his wife.
Oh,
He was
Jesus.
superstitious. If his wife was at the game, he played well. So now in foreign cities, he's got this woman playing his wife to make him feel secure.
Get out.
No, that's what he was
Is that
doing.
true?
Yeah, that's all true.
That's like the Alfred Hitchcock film Vertigo. Wade Boggs is
Yeah,
Jimmy
it is.
Stewart in Vertigo.
Mary, why do I have to have so many hits?
I always glad Jimmy Stewart wasn't an actor in the 70s.
Yeah.
Very popular because I can't imagine that. You know what I need is I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this scene until I get some coke. I want some coke in my trailer.
Or if he had been like the Columbo.
Those are good
he'd be
Jimmy Stewarts.
Here's the thing. Don't leave town.
Dude, you should go on Dana Hersey's movie
I
Loft.
love Dana Hersey. He
The
had such a
movie
deep
Loft.
voice, too.
Black cats. Now, if a black cat walks in front of you, do you lose your shit?
I'm Catholic. I'm able to justify.
Uh-huh.
I'm able to say, that cat really didn't cross my path. He kind of took a left or a right before
He banged
my
it
path,
off.
But I will walk 2 blocks to avoid it.
Will you really?
Oh, yeah.
Will you really?
I might go around.
Yeah, I find that fascinating.
Yeah, I don't mind the cracks on the sidewalk because where I grew up, that's the
There- yeah,
sidewalk.
there was-
That's all
sidewalks
there
are
is.
sidewalks.
What are you going to do? You can't walk on
You
it.
got
then.
nothing.
You got nothing. The pavement's coming up from the salt in the
Yeah.
winter.
I always love it when I see a tree growing up through the sidewalk.
Yeah, you go,
Hey,
oh.
fuck you, concrete.
I don't care what you did.
You
You townies
piece of
couldn't
shit.
stop me.
You piece
Wait,
of
you think
shit.
3 guys standing around this hole is going to stop me?
Oh, trees say fuck you to sidewalks like that,
They
like
do.
a boss.
Oh, yeah, and you know what else they do is they burst up the street.
Yeah.
So all of
They
a sudden you
break
got
it all
these,
up.
you got these big bumps. They're not going to fix that if you're in Arlington.
No.
They don't care.
Yeah, walk around it.
Good luck. In Wellesley, they'll fix it.
Walk around it, wheelchair boy.
Oh, yeah. Wellesley, the pavement cracks. They got someone over there that day.
Oh, yeah.
You're out in
Planing
Methuen.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good luck.
You're
And I love Methuen.
You're out in JP.
Yeah, you're in JP, no chance.
No chance.
Those guys will say they did it. Doesn't get checked on for 4 years, and then they just say, no, it's back. We did that.
Yeah, if you call JP and you go, hey, I got a tree going through the sidewalk. Here's what you do. You get in the orange line. You go to Kendall Square. It's a lot nicer.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
you're
get on the orange
fine.
line, get the fuck out of here.
Get a day out.
I was driving on the Mass Turnpike once, and I had my cousin as a statey.
Oh, yeah.
And I had my cousin's business card in
Marty.
my wallet. Yeah. And I get pulled over, and I have the business card right near my driver's license. And the cop walks up and looks at my wallet and goes, Jesus Christ, where you going? I'm going to the airport. He goes, go through the tunnel, get on the expressway, and screw.
Because you had the card.
Yeah, just because I had the card. I wonder how
That's
many.
all you need.
What crime would he have eventually had to peg me on it?
Yeah, what if you made up your own card that just said the word police? And underneath, you just made up names
Underdog.
like Dwight Evans.
Underdog.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm related to Underdog. Well, you better get out of here.
Where are you going?
Sorry.
Yeah, you better go.
Get that Simon Bar Sinister off the streets.
That's a good one. I like that.
Oh, yeah. This year so far has been like a fucking Three Stooges marathon with no curlies.
Oh, you can't do that.
All Joe.
You can't do
Oh,
that.
it's-
How many times can you hear not so hard?
Oh, it's bad.
It's
bad.
hard to watch.
It's a tough year.
It's like, oh.
You know what my
shoebox.
father calls P-Town?
What's that?
Down with the fellas.
That's appropriate.
Your buddy from high school,
all the
Mark,
things
he's
you-
down in P-Town now with the fellas.
Well, you know what? He's not wrong.
You know.
And compared to a lot of things your dad says, that's
Could have
pretty
been that, yeah.
that's softball.
Very sweet.
That's
Kind of
not,
oddly loving.
that's not high and inside the way some of his pitches come in. I'll tell you, that one you can hit over the fence. Like, yeah, that was soft. Yeah,
right.
good.
You actually seem to have
What about him?
human emotion there.
Yeah, exactly. He's superstitious, your father?
Oh, no, he doesn't give a shit.
He doesn't
He
care.
doesn't give a shit.
No, he just
He
sits
could,
there
could not care less.
mumbling.
Yeah.
What would he mumble about if somebody
You're
was to
dead,
say,
you're dead. That's what he always says. You're dead, you're dead. When we were little,
knock wood. If you said, oh, knock wood, Pa.
nothing. When we were little, we'd drive through the Sumner Tunnel going to the airport, and, you're under the bay, and you're 7 years old, and my father would just go, well, if this thing breaks, it's all over. It's over in a minute. Like, thank you, Father. Thank you. It was so much instant death. The specter of... And then
He was right.
He was right.
If it was-
Don't
if it was
remind
the
me, I'm
fall.
7. I don't want to know. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake. How many 7-year-olds die in their fucking sleep?
I remember
Jesus
going to mass
Christ.
at St. Joseph's.
What the fuck?
In need of mass and having the preacher say, it was like early morning. We'd all been up
If I
all
should
night.
die
My
before
mother
I
would make
wake.
us go. We're at church, and the priest says, "You will all die." And he's like giving us a fire and brimstone speech. And I turn to my mother and I go, "Ma, I'm going to puke. I got to get out of here." And she goes, "Yeah, me too. Let's go."
I don't understand. How could a 7-year-old die in his sleep?
Yeah, and when he does, what does he
I
really
would
have to
think I was
atone
trying to
for?
say, yeah.
But he woke up early and opened the cereal to
Yeah.
get the treat? Like, what is he going to deal with
Spending
St.
a
Peter?
lot of time on that big wheel, Ricky.
What about that time you filled your pants at school? Like, what are they going to say to a 7-year-old?
And I did, as a kid, think, like, if I go to sleep, it's a crapshoot. I might not wake
This
up.
might not be
This
it.
could be it for
that
me.
was it. That was a great day I had.
This could be it for me.
I didn't get picked last on the kickball team. I can go to heaven now.
This could be it.
Yeah, that wasn't a bad day.
This could be it.
I got no cooties. Finished my homework. Handed it in. You know what? I just might call it. I'm 7.
The gates of heaven.
Yeah, let
you
them
could end
open.
up at the gates of heaven.
Sure.
Why does heaven have gates?
That's
What
just-
is right outside of heaven that they had to put up a gate?
You're like, oh, St. Peter, I heard about you. How are you?
Is heaven in a shit neighborhood? We got to
There you
put
go.
those fucking gates up.
Heaven's got the trees coming right through the sidewalk.
Yeah, we got to put a gate up.
It was
Heaven
someone's
is right,
idea of perfection.
heaven is right next to purgatory. A lot of people walking around heaven looking at their watch going, how close am I? Am I short? Am I short yet?
Do I need to make a new appointment?
Yeah, I wonder how many people die like purgatory. Come on, I want to pull
Oh,
purgatory.
I really just, if I could just get there.
I often wondered if everybody went to the same spot.
Yeah,
There's
well, that's like
nothing.
a Sox game. If you go with no tickets, right? When
Yeah.
we used to climb over.
Right.
You got no tickets. Well, now you got to sit in someone else's seat. I wonder if it's like that.
Right.
Well, someone else is going to like check on their relatives.
Right.
I'm going to go sit in front row.
Yeah. So what religion believes that there's all... I mean, I know that Judaism, there's no hell.
That's one of the best things about that.
Right.
And I think you can see it on their face.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But does everybody just go to the same room? Like, I get like Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah.
walking around, bumps into Hitler. He's like, Jesus, motherfucker, this is bullshit. All the goodness I did in this... Look, I snuff my first. I go where I'm sent.
I didn't even know that Hitler could speak English.
Sure.
Did he?
Sure, he does in that sketch.
That's good.
He does in that sketch.
I thought that was really
Gandhi's
well
like,
done.
I can't fucking believe I'm with Hitler. I could eat so much. I could have had Doritos and Snow Puffs. So much.
And
I really love the Snow Puffs.
They're playing like canasta.
They're pink
Yeah,
and
they're
the chocolate
doing
inside.
He's like, look what I brought. Boggle. Like Hitler brought Boggle.
Ganip, which, by the way, are you ready to have your shit blown apart?
And what's up?
Ganip.
Yeah, I remember.
Ping pong backwards.
Oh, my God. You know, there's so many things that hit me hard nowadays.
You know what I got in the house right now?
What's that?
Battling Tops.
Oh, I remember that.
Shall we?
You played me at that. When I was
Hurricane Hank.
I was like 11 years old. You played me at that.
Hurricane Hank.
Wow. Hurricane Hank. I remember that. I remember Candyland.
Oh, sure.
And we changed.
That's a beautiful bar down in P-Town.
That's where you meet the fellas.
Oh, I'm going down to Candyland. Sure you are.
You know, it's about a half a block up from the lobster pot. Go during the day.
I was visiting San Francisco, and there was a bar called the White Swallow.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm like, Jesus Christ, I get it.
But I haven't seen the bird.
There's
no
I
picture of a
get
bird
it.
on there, is there?
That makes me wonder. I bet there are common, ordinary expressions that have different meanings in prison. An example, hot fudge sundae. I bet in prison that has nothing to do with dessert. Short stack. Not a breakfast treat when you're at Walpole.
That's not something you can order. That's something that's ordered of you. You can't.
I know what a covered wagon is, and you want no part of it.
First day of prison, you're like, oh, yeah. Oh, no.
Oh, boy.
Wait, what's that?
Cream corn.
Dear Ma, I learned some new meanings.
Yeah, salt and pepper. Oh, yeah, I knew a guy that was a guard. His advice, don't go to prison.
That's good advice, I think.
Good advice.
It's because he's not saying don't commit crimes.
Yeah, no.
He's not saying, he's saying don't get caught.
Don't go to prison,
And
my
if-
friend.
If you can do anything, don't go.
Oh, Jesus.
Don't buy that ticket.
Yeah.
That would be bad luck.
Yeah, that
Go
would
back
be.
to superstition,
There you go.
You know?
Bad luck.
I would want to go out the same door I came in. If I saw a black cat, I'd go the other way.
Now, why would a horseshoe, is that good luck or bad luck? You put a horseshoe.
A horseshoe is good luck.
A horseshoe is good luck.
And there's an old expression about a horseshoe. It says only a couple things are almost. Horseshoes and hand grenades.
Right. Almost doesn't count except horseshoes
That's
and hand
it.
grenades.
There you go. I think that says it on your dad's wall. Or
Right.
something. Okay. So what I'm
Also
saying.
on our wall, our house is clean enough to be healthy and dirty enough to be happy.
I like that one.
Yeah, but what it really should have said is we're all alcoholics and rage addicts. Don't laugh at nothing, or I'll think it's me and I'll break your fucking jaw.
If we're
I
not-
better not see you laughing if you're not staring at the television.
If we're not drinking, we're dry and unhappy.
Yeah, there's a fun thing to do. Go into a house full of paranoids and crack up at nothing, and watch how quickly you get your fucking throat punched.
How many stairs can you
What are
gather?
you fucking laughing
Yeah,
at? No, I was
exactly.
thinking of a joke. Fuck, bang!
You're
Ow.
out.
Get out.
I remember watching
I'm
like
9.
sitcoms
Get
with
out,
my dad
9.
and his wife.
Yeah.
And like watching these sitcoms and the laughs are getting, really big. And it's not funny to me.
Sure.
On that sitcom. But I start thinking, I should just laugh along with them whenever they laugh.
Sure, yeah.
It's easier.
My father never understood that Jack Tripper was not queer. He always thought he was queer. And he was like, my father was Mr. Roper. And they're like, no, he's not queer. Only Mr. Roper and you think he's queer.
Wait, explain
Why are you
this
watching
again.
that queer? But he's not, Dad. He's their roommate, and he has to pretend he's...
That's awesome.
No, the point...
That's a fun thing.
The cream of the jest is that he is straight.
Oh, I get it. The cream of the jest,
But
son.
my father,
Sure.
oh, sure. That was another bar in San Francisco. If you're going down to the cream on my vest, it was called.
I don't remember that one, but I would visit.
Yeah.
Never.
It must be easy to own a gay bar. It's easy.
Oh, yeah.
Log jam. Easy
Yeah, well, you
names.
gotta-
So what is your plan for 2013? You got anything to avoid the bad luck? Get it out of your way?
I feel like I have enough rabbit's feet and all those, and all those things tied around my my rearview mirror that I think sometimes we see what we are looking for. So I'm going to try to think of it as...
look at you.
Yeah, because I've been so unlucky on some of these lucky years.
Uh-huh.
I'm thinking this might be a lucky year for me.
It could be good.
I know, it might work out well. My mother always says the same thing over and over. Whatever.
Yeah.
That's what she says. That's basically her comment
Yeah.
about anything now.
All I know, the year I'm having so far, if I get a fortune cookie and open it up, and instead of a fortune, it's just going to be a bunch of AIDS.
I've never seen that.
Stick with me.
Yeah.
Well, go have lunch at the Pago Pago, and
All
you'll
right,
see it.
I'm in.
It's Political Talk with two guys from Boston. Bevilacqua Heating and Air Conditioning.
We're cool if you're cool.
Cool if you. We're going to make a shirt one of these fucking. I got to get out of here.
All right.
I don't feel good.
Political Talk with two guys from Boston.
described yourself to me as poor white trash. Please explain.
Well, I was between like middle class and poor class because of a couple of divorces. So we would,
I was poor.
Well, my mom, her car, she had in the floorboard, there was a hole in it. So I would drive to school and I could see the street going.
Okay, you were poorer than me.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I don't know. There was a hole in my mom's car.
That's good. We had 6 kids in a 3-bedroom house.
That's pretty poor. Oh, we had that too for like a few months, but then we moved to a bigger house.
Yeah, we never.
Yeah, and there was only one bathroom.
Yeah, same. One bathroom. That's why I always drives my wife crazy because I always say when I'm going to pee. And she said, "What are you telling me? I don't care." Because it's a habit. We used to have to announce it in case somebody had to I have to shower or I have to do something else.
Did you have to bathe in somebody else's water?
I have, yes.
Yeah, we had to do that.
Yeah.
But and then
at the end of the night, we would make soup stock. No. Yeah, we were on free lunch.
Oh, that's
at school.
Poor.
Yeah, at school, and that was you had to say it just to humiliate. They couldn't have a list of kids that you had to. I'm on free lunch. I'm poor.
Did they call your name? Like Dana Gold, free lunch?
Dana Gold, free lunch.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Poor kid coming through. And then we qualified to the point that we got to pay for our milk. We felt pretty cool.
That is fancy.
There's a nickel. I'm going to take that. Take that nickel. It's yours.
Change.
That's yours. Yeah, pretty grim.
I was one of the kids that got the donated toys at toy drives.
Really?
Growing up. Yeah, and I have this really distinct memory of one of the toy drives where they had this this ceremony that you had to go to, where you had to walk down a long aisle to Santa, which is too much pressure already for like a 4-year-old.
Or as you called him at the time, old Manson.
And so before the drive, you got to write down like the top 3 toys you wanted. And then as I was approaching Santa, he was holding my number 1 toy, and I realized I had written down the wrong toy. And that I had written down one I already had. And Santa asked if I was excited about it. And 4 years old, I panicked and didn't want to make Santa feel bad. So I lied to Santa and go, yeah, no, this is new for me. Thank you. And I wanted to spare Santa's feelings.
What I love is
so nice.
the codependency.
I know.
Yeah, exactly.
Fictional person at 4. That's really profound.
Exactly. It really set the tone for
it's so
the rest
true.
of my
4
life.
years old and everyone's happiness is my responsibility.
Yes.
I totally understand. Yes. I could not relate to that story more. It's really true.
Yeah, it was so sad.
I don't want to make Santa sad.
I didn't want to make Santa sad. It's okay, guys. I'm okay.
No, you're not. This is an intervention. So, do you have a big family or?
Well, there was 3 kids, and then my mom remarried, and then there were 6 kids. So there were 6 of us for a while.
So it's the story of a man named
Yeah.
And is your dad still around?
My biological father died, and then my stepdad moved to Texas, and I don't talk to him either. Both of them alcoholics, like a lot of alcoholism.
Gee, I can't imagine what that's like. Anyway. Really? What's that like? Yeah, that went around a lot. I remember stories. Daddy fell asleep in front of the toilet. Isn't Daddy funny? Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it was weird because my dad was sort of a private drunk, and he never came out of his bedroom, like manic depressive. And my mom's a workaholic. Like my mom was working, my dad wouldn't leave the bedroom. And then when she remarried my stepdad, he was like a social drunk. So I thought he was cool just because he came out of the bedroom.
Sure.
I was like, this is a good dad. He goes out during the day. So it was very...
He's not nearly as vampiric as my biological father.
Right.
So he would sit in the bedroom and get drunk?
Yeah, well, I think so. I've only seen my father drunk once, and it was when I was older, and I surprised him. Like, I went to go visit him without telling him, and he was just wasted. And whenever we would go over, like, every other weekend, he had the near beer.
Yeah.
So his father was an alcoholic, so I think he was so ashamed.
The inventor of the near beer, it's not unlike the woman that married the guy because she was pregnant and agreed to have an abortion. You're really missing the entire point of this entire thing. There's a connection there. Well, there are people in history that, like Spencer Tracy, the actor, would not drink and he would be working on a movie and then he would literally fill a suitcase with vodka or whatever he did, would go to a hotel room, strip down, get in the tub, and just go on like legendary, like week-long benders, completely shit-faced in a hotel room, and then would go dry out and work again and stuff.
The bender.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like that with Skippy Superchunk.
Aren't we all?
I'll just sit in the tub naked with Spencer Tracy eating peanut butter.
Crying, eating peanut butter.
I've never not cried while eating peanut butter. Let's just have this out. Wow. And how did he pass away? Funny story.
No. I want to make it funny, but he drank himself to death in his apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a maintenance man found him like 2 days later. 58.
Wow.
Oh my God.
No, I think anybody with an addiction that gets a handle on it, you have that moment where you realize, oh, this is how I die if I don't fix this problem. This is how I die. I had that with the Skippy Superchunk.
I mean, what a relief to know.
Yeah.
It's true. Hey, I know how I'm going to die.
It's like, I don't know.
Call all your friends.
Yeah.
And then you begin to tempt fate. You like stop bank robber. I'm not going to die by this bank robber. I'm going to die drinking alone in my house. And you become Superman. Utterly fearless. I'm going to sleep on the train tracks.
Person robbing the bank and you just shake your flask at them and you're like, no. Yeah. Sorry.
I'm going to get killed by a man named Old Mr. Boston. Hand over the Roscoe, Muggsy.
I am already on the case.
It's Alcoholic Man to the rescue. That is brilliant. Thank God I know I'm going to drink myself to death. I'm going to jump off this building. Land like a cat.
And then find a bar.
I'd like a whiskey and cream. That's a cat on a drunk. Bowl of cream and a whiskey.
You got to miss your whiskers.
How's Mrs. Whiskers? Give me the goddamn whiskey. Sorry. Lap. Hey, look, there's a mouse. Fuck it. Mr. Whiskers is having a bad week and a mouse ran across the floor. He didn't even flinch. God love you. He just looks over the mouse. God bless you. God bless you, you son of a bitch. That mouse is beautiful. Passes out on the bar. Mr. Whiskers, cat alcoholic.
That is amazing.
Wow. When does he die?
We have to ask him. He has to find out 9 times. That's a cat alcoholic.
Oh, God.
This is how I die 9 times. This is how I die 9 times.
He's like, what was that, 7 or 8?
I don't know. Cream and whiskey. Tell them on the podcast.
No, I mean they're fun. They divorced when I was 1, so they were in it for the long haul. And she taught me how to drive when I was 15, so that I could pick her up at bars.
Smart.
She would get too drunk.
Resourceful.
And then one, like the first time you're like 15 years old, your mom calls you drunk from a bar.
Yeah.
And she comes out and she's with a cat. Mr. Whiskers and I are going home.
We need to give Mr. Whiskers a ride.
Yeah, we have to give him a ride down to the junkyard. And then you're driving home. She goes, Monica, I have to tell you something. I wasn't going to tell you this, but you're old enough to know. You really hurt Santa's feelings.
Start crying immediately. I tried not to. She was so wild that I graduated high school early and moved out when I was 16 because she had moved in a homeless man into our apartment that we shared.
Well, then he wasn't a homeless man, was he?
Not anymore. Well, by homeless, I mean he was a Renaissance fair weirdo.
Oh, great.
So he was like one of those people that would like follow the Renaissance fair around. And those people that do the Renaissance fair, I don't know a ton about that world, but from my understanding from him is like they basically all just camp out in some creepy Renaissance fair camp for the duration of the fair, which doesn't last that long. It's like 3 months or something. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of the year, they're all just like weird transient people that are stuck
any kind
in
of
that time.
any. This actually came up today in a conversation with someone else. Anybody who really is into a reenactment of any kind, you really need to be careful of.
Yeah.
I used to really, when I was a much younger man, be into the Betty Page looking chicks.
Yeah.
And I found really quickly that women who dedicate their lives to looking exactly like someone else have a lot of problems with themselves.
Who knew?
Yeah.
That get projected, that immediately get projected onto you. Someone once said, and this is not my quote, and it was from a graphic novel that I read, and the name of it escapes me, but they were referring to strippers specifically, but it also applies to the Betty Page lookalike chicks that I dated in the early 90s. They confuse sex for love and love for weakness.
Oh, boy.
That's really true.
Wow.
Yeah.
But they were probably fun, right?
No.
Dana
not
is
at
shaking
all.
his head no.
Why did you like fall in love with them, or did you want more?
We don't need to get into this. I just had this like that was like my like it was a prevalent look, and it was a look I was into.
Yeah.
But I would find that like I never found the really normal girl that looked exactly like Betty Page.
Who knew?
Dang it.
Yeah,
So
who knew?
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I'm a big like history nerd, and I will get stuck in phases of like being really into certain eras and reading about them. But I draw a line of like, oh well, I still live now, and
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not going to move into the 1840 house.
I'm not gonna start like dressing like some weird steampunk person and
Right.
obsessing over appearing like that.
I was speaking with somebody who, a very good friend of theirs, got really into the 501st.
Oh boy,
And you know what that is,
I have a vague idea.
I don't know what that is.
Monica?
No, you explain it.
The 501st is a stormtrooper
That's what I thought.
battalion
That's what I thought. Oh God.
of people who they do good deeds, which is odd because they also blew up a little planet called Alderaan.
The stormtroopers
that was a
didn't.
peaceful planet and had no weapons. If I recall, I could be wrong. I don't think I am, but and they get really into this role play, and they have their armor, and it became spooky.
Well, they probably like living in that fantasy world. They say a lot of serial killers live in their teen years because they're either abused or whatever. They detach that way in their brain, so they live sort of in a fantasy life. They spend most of their time just like fantasizing about whatever. So it's probably just some sort of way of coping,
Right.
with whatever's real that they don't want to deal with.
I wonder if there's a way to know if you have a cranky teen or a junior serial killer.
Animals. I think your kids are fine. It's animals. They right? They torture animals.
They torture animals.
And they're obsessed with fire. Torturing animals and fire.
My friend's son said the greatest thing when he was little. He was just standing there goofing off, and my friend said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Just jumping around thinking about explosions."
Oh, I was doing that earlier.
That was the greatest.
There's a book called What Cops Know that's based on, like, they interviewed a bunch of cops. It's almost like Studs Terkel working. And it's each chapter is divided by departments. So you'll have, like, sex crimes and homicide. And the one thing is about the importance of gallows humor. And they had a thing where, and this is gross, but a guy jumped off a building, and the ambulance pulled up, and they're all, just collecting the pieces. And this guy just picked up a brain, and it's just whole. It's not even smashed. And he's like, my God, should we save this? Or I don't know. Like, he just doesn't know what to say. And this cop's like, what, is someone going to donate it? And they're just cracking up. But yeah, that your instinctive reaction would be like, oh, we should save the, like, no, you can't.
Well,
there's no
it's
brain
so
transplant,
right?
you know?
Yeah, right.
It's not a heart or a kidney, you know?
Well, there is a brain transplant, but it's a great movie. But
Steve Martin.
there's two stories reminded. One that I realized only recently. My birthday is August 24th, 1964. I was born 9 months and 2 days after the JFK assassination, which tells you all you need to know about how my father processes grief. And now when I watch the Zapruder footage, I can't help but think, my God, if he missed, I wouldn't be here.
Wow.
So glad he hit. He was almost out of range.
Oh, my God.
But my oldest brother was a police officer in our hometown, and he tells a really funny story about one night. It was a small town in Massachusetts called Hopedale, and the most ironically named town. But Despairville was already taken. So he's on the car one night, and he hears this on the radio from the neighboring town. HPD, we've got a 1968 Ford Mustang, black hardtop coming down Route 16, just ran 4 red lights. And he's like, HPD per intercept. Nielsen Way and Route 16, and he's like, HPD over Nielsen Way and 816. Sure enough, he goes, and I started to think, wait a minute, I have a 1968 Mustang with a black top. He goes, sure enough, it's about 4 a.m, the headlights come over the hill, and about 90 miles an hour, there comes our other brother in his car.
Oh, God.
His car. And he had to I lost him again.
It's like the Bruce Springsteen song "Highway Patrolman."
I lost it's my car. I got it. It's my car. That brother is now runs the stress unit, which is for prison guards when they when they witness something gnarly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they have to go deal with my brother. God help them. Don't cry. That would be funny. That's a prison guard stress unit. Don't cry.
How did you get this job?
I'll give you something to cry about.
You have no empathy.
Blood everywhere. Don't cry. Cry to the puppet. Cry to the puppet and get out of here. You made me sick. I would go to Comic-Con and you'd see people like in the 501st.
Right.
Or in the heyday of Comic-Con, just before it became just a licensed product convention.
Right.
When it was still kind of Comic-Con. Xena Warrior Princess was the big thing. There's a lot of Xenas. And morbidly obese C-3PO and surly lesbian Klingon. And then you just see these profoundly hot chicks.
Yeah.
Which I was always terrified to even talk to. I was like, excuse me, rape! They all had an invisible rape whistle right in their teeth. I never talked to them. Because they were just like, but I never see them at comic book stores. Like, I've never gone to Meltdown once and saw just a stunningly hot chick. Lots of cute Enid Ghost World chicks, but never like a... So... Years go by, and I'm at Comic-Con with my daughter, who at the time was about 8 or 9. And we're standing in line to get a piece of pizza, and this statuesque, just like Ubermensch woman is behind us in a dress like, what's her name from The Watchmen?
Oh, Silk Spectre.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, my daughter, married, I'm not...
Right.
Clearly not making a move. So I just turned around and they go, can I ask you a question? She goes, yeah. I go, did you make that costume? Are you really into Alan Moore? Like, how did this all come about? She goes, oh, no, I'm a model. They just pay us to walk around like this. And it was like the glass just, and I'm like, of course they're fake. How did I not realize this? It's like wrestling. It's also fake. I was like, I had the golden towel to run out. The hot nerd chicks aren't real. Don't save yourself for them. They're not real.
Did you yell that at her?
No, but it was like, I did have like one of those oh shit moments. Like, of course you're a model.
Were you relieved or like upset?
I was oddly relieved.
Yeah. No, was she like what am I dressed as?
I'm sure she was. She might have.
Who's Alan Moore?
Yeah.
Where am I?
Yeah. I remember once being on a panel at Comic-Con and looking out into the audience and seeing a girl in the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman suit and thinking like, there you go.
Yeah, there it is.
There you go. And I'm thinking, what kind of girl does that? Why can't I meet that? And so then later, as I'm walking out, I kind of like walk over by her, and I realize as I get closer, you know what kind of girl does that? A dude. A girl who's a dude. That's who does that.
A really specific kind of girl.
A girl with junk.
The dude girl.
The dude version of a girl. A girl with junk. That's a weird superhero. Woman, boy. Cat dude.
Cat dude. That's the cool version.
Yeah.
Cat dude rides a skateboard.
Cat tranny. Yeah. It was very... But I have to say, I did feel like, good for you. Seemed really happy. You know, costume was great. Was having a good time walking around. Like,
you're really doing it.
Good for you.
Check you out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Good on you. Well, not on you.
No, not on you. But carry on.
Famously, no women serial killers?
No, there are. Yeah, they're most
me
often
rephrase it then.
poisoners. They like to poison.
Elizabeth Bathory.
Well, she's old.
Eileen Wuornos, Monster.
Right. That was from the film Monster.
Yeah.
Right. How many men did she kill? She shot them, didn't she?
Yes, a lot. I mean, maybe 12. I don't know, a lot. But yeah, no, it's technically, it's usually a male thing.
Yeah, and usually white.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I read an interesting article recently that said, people think that this is like a uniquely American phenomenon, but if you think about it, there's actually like suicide bombers have a very similar thing going on psychologically. It's just manifest in a different way because cultures are different. So it was more about the thing that happened in Newtown, and it was more mass murders. But I thought that was really interesting. It was this forensic psychiatrist who was saying that he sees a lot of similarities, and so that it's actually not just American thing.
It's like the idea of that my life has meaning, or that I'm not obscure anymore. Hey, look at me, everybody.
Right. I want to create a big, impactful, violent episode that a lot of people then I can live on,
Do you think that they will one day find like the serial killer gene?
Well, I will say this. I have noticed.
And what if they find it in your baby?
I don't know if there's a gene. I will say that a lot of them have frontal lobe injuries.
Injuries?
Dahmer did. Ted Bundy did. If you go through their biographies, almost all of them, they were hit by a bat when they were 4. And almost all of them had some kind of weird Arthur Shawcross. They all had like...
Larry Fine.
But that was obvious. You could tell.
You're all going to die.
Hey, ways.
You made Larry a serial killer. No, I didn't. They're all going to die, Mo. Tomorrow I take them all out.
It puts the lotion in the basket.
It does this whenever it's stolen. Now, don't a lot of them have an extra chromosome?
No, officer, he's my boyfriend. Let him go back in the apartment.
That is, I think. I haven't heard so much about that.
That's Larry Fine as Jeffrey Dahmer.
Sure, there's a head in my fridge. What of it? There's a 3-day weekend coming up. If you don't have a head in your fridge, what are you going to eat? I serve this guy with fruit and cold chicken.
And while
hey, Mo.
While you're saying that, I'm just picturing Curly and Mo staring. Like they can't even pretend to do their roles anymore. They've completely... Them breaking character is doing nothing or kind of just covering their eyes.
That's right.
Like having a modicum of shame all of a sudden. Not slapsticky at all.
Yeah.
A voice you haven't heard comes out of Curly like, oh, God.
Yeah,
like a normal voice.
Yeah, Mo just goes, this is very terrible.
It's the first time he's ever said that out loud.
Oh, my God, I had no idea.
Somebody said that there's like footage from It's a Mad, 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 Mad World where they're rehearsing. And Mo's literally like going, now, Larry, darling, what I'm going to do here is hit you on the forehead. Like, I hope it's true.
That's wonderful.
Isn't it funny how all Dahmer conversations end up with the Stooges? They always go right to the Stooges. That's interesting about the frontal lobe. And at what point will they start to find genes for stuff like that? And when do you get to, select, Very healthy, very beautiful, perfect eyesight, will insist on wearing white pants after Labor Day.
Forget it! Yeah. Have you seen Dexter? Are you prepared to prepare him?
Yeah. You are impregnated with a beautiful, bouncing baby ventriloquist.
No!
So we can tell he's got the ventriloquy gene.
He won't be able to resist.
He'll make a fine living on cruise ships. No, get it out of me! Get it out of me now!
I suggest you cover the nursery walls in cellophane.
My first kill room. My first kill room. My first kill room. Well, that is a weird thing about shows like Dexter where they really do glorify. Like, I will say this. I never thought it was cool to wear a Manson t-shirt.
No.
Remember that famous photo?
That was just
But
weird.
you see punks wearing them.
And Axl Rose.
Yeah,
Axl Rose
like,
tried to collaborate with him or something.
Yeah, and it's like, what's the cool part of him? What's the cool thing he did?
Had a pregnant woman.
And didn't
murdered.
Trent Reznor bought the house? Trent Reznor lived in the Manson house.
Oh,
it
did
lived
he?
into Sharon Tate's house.
Tate and Roman Polanski.
Until Sharon Tate's sister was like, my sister was brutally murdered in that house. It's not cool.
Yeah.
And he moved out eventually. Yeah, or people who buy John Wayne Gacy paintings. It's like, no.
Yeah, well, I think, you kind of catalog and try to explain and research and look into it. The people that are just like, oh, they're so awesome is the thing that makes
really?
me go,
Oh,
what?
yeah, no.
Like,
Yeah.
no, these are horrible people.
Yeah,
You know?
really? And have you ever seen the color crime scene photos of the Tate house?
No,
God,
I
no.
never.
I have
I
seen
visually get very. I don't
It
ever
is-
see anything.
It is, believe it or not, terrible.
Pretty bad.
There's that famous footage of the comptroller that blows his brains out on
Yes.
TV.
Of course, yeah.
And
He lost Comtrol. That's why.
No, that should be the sad horns from Price is Right there. Boom, 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 boom. That one.
yeah. Yeah.
That's my favorite sad horn.
I'm sorry. The tumor was too big. We couldn't get at it. Boom, 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 boom.
That's the sting to America's funniest murders. But yeah, I remember we were on the road someplace, and this comic I knew had a videotape full of, that's how long ago it was, had a tape of all this funny stuff from like Letterman and just crazy little bits and things. And so we're watching it, and in the middle of it, he puts that footage. I think I'm done watching murders for the rest of my life.
That was a big thing.
horrible.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I couldn't sleep for
it was
a
like
couple days.
it was kind of a notorious party video, like crazy stoners and stuff would watch.
Yeah.
A little before my time, but like
Ironically, right around the time everybody got William Shatner doing Rocket Man, it was like that and
crazy.
How did the person filming it not drop the camera from just
that's a
shock
really.
or?
I'm wondering,
the
or
question.
is it an autonomic reflex to continue doing what you're doing?
I can't imagine.
Or like in
Like-
Blair Witch. Why do they keep filming?
Yeah, they
Godzilla.
know a supernatural being
Who is
is
filming,
in the woods.
Who is filming Godzilla coming out of the bay?
and when
It's a radioactive.
When the woman is running in the woods and she's like, "What the fuck is that?" Like, pan over. I want to see what she's talking about. I didn't see. Did you guys see the witch? I never saw her once.
How come on Star Trek when they would have the video link to what was going on in the planet, it had cuts? It's like the Enterprise has like 4 cameras going, and somebody camera 2 zoom in on the lizard, camera 2 widen on the Gorn, cut over to Captain Kirk.
Can we get the Gorn again?
Zoom in the
Where's
Gorn.
the Gorn?
Go Gorn.
Go Gorn.
Go Gorn.
Cue the Gorn. Cue the Gorn, please.
He's actually about to crush the captain with a rock. I don't care. Stay on the Gorn.
Yeah.
Interesting sulfur.
The Gorn's the eye candy. Stay on that.
Heartless producer. Doesn't care that his boss is about to be murdered.
Perfect lizard head, perfect human body,
No, he'd
but
want
green. You know, it's a really lame design. I'm sorry. Perfect human body and a lizard head. Why?
All right, I got a confession to make. I'm cutting the Gorn's reel. So
He's making a comeback.
And it's so cheap. It's just mouth perfectly still the whole time.
Yeah, no.
stop running. No, you can enunciate. You're the actor.
I would always love on Star Trek when they would always do, we've been waiting here for over 2 of your Earth hours. Well, why wouldn't you just use your measure of
What's
time?
your thing? How do you? Teach me. You know my language.
You don't have to do that.
And Kirk getting hit and falling down like modern dance every time, like head lolling to the side and hands kind of like a graceful ass kickery.
Or when he would knock women out You know, like to be nice.
And then
like,
throw her over the shoulder and hide her somewhere, and then
but
keep
he
going.
like sock her in the face.
Yeah,
like
full on punch.
That's not where
And then
the knockout place is.
Dun dun.
Ah, Jimmy boy.
Finnegan.
I always wanted to beat the tar out of Finnegan.
How did we get to William Shatner?
Yeah, we went way too far down the Star Trek hole there.
No, there's no such thing. You know, recently they found a severed head under the Hollywood sign.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And my first thought on that was, that's a lot of work.
Yeah. No thanks.
There's no road that leads to the Hollywood sign. You've got to hoof it
You got to hike up there.
with a head.
Do you think that, I mean, how did that work then? Did he just carry the head out?
I assume.
Oh.
I mean,
Where'd they find the body?
I don't think they
Did
ever
they?
found it.
Oh.
But somebody had that, and that's the kind of thing that you only do that if you want to do it. That's not like impulse swinging into the big chill for a froyo. That's like, no, I'm gonna do this. And you can't be like halfway through and just like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I wanted to saw this guy's head off, but maybe I just want pancakes. I don't know. And then you're mad at yourself. I'll never finish anything. And then you just pan out, and there's just like a half-finished jigsaw puzzle, half-finished crossword puzzle. Yeah, he's 2 seasons into The Wire. He just 3 slices of pizza left. He just can't complete a goddamn thing.
That is crazy. I never thought about the body. I knew that the head was found and then just would every so often think about,
Where's the body?
where's that body? Oh.
I don't know.
Oh, I'm now unsettled.
Did they catch the person?
I have no idea.
I don't think so.
Is he considered the first?
One of the first, for sure.
Is there an extant theory on who Jack the Ripper was?
No, I find Jack the Ripper fascinating because everyone seems to have their own, from royalty to like a homeless guy. It's
Right.
just all over the place.
Alan Moore's involves geometry, I think.
Yeah.
I think he was probably just because no one flagged a weird, out of place man around that time. I think he had to fit into that sort of gritty area. So I think he had to be kind of like a ne'er-do-well.
Oh yeah.
I mean, no one ever said like this well-dressed, that would stand out to
Yeah.
those people. So I think it had to be someone who was kind of like living right around there. There's a Polish butcher. I know a lot of people think it was this guy who was a Polish butcher who kind of went crazy in an insane asylum. So.
Interesting. And then you move similar theories to the Black Dahlia murder, which is the crazy surgeon that lived near 29th and Norton. Was it 29th and Norton?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that was it.
And we still don't know anything like definitively about that? Or?
No.
No, but it's a good theory that there was a surgeon who was disbarred that used to, with his girlfriend or wife, he would watch films of surgeries during dinner.
Oh,
With classical music playing.
Yeah, but I mean,
And
he's
then
a
he had
surgeon. That's
But he had a
interesting to him.
tangential relationship to Elizabeth Short, and whoever murdered Elizabeth Short had a lot of anatomical knowledge because of the way she was found and the way things. It's
Possible, yeah.
yeah.
Well, I think about that era and how actresses of the age were kind of just chewed up and spat out by the Hollywood system, and how, even Marilyn Monroe, she's this iconic figure, the head of that studio for years of her life just kept her in a cottage, like near the lot, and would just go, I want sex now. And he kept women like that. It's like,
Really?
yeah. And then she became a star, and then fled, like didn't need it anymore, kind of thing. But it's like that's something we know about. Like
Right.
how many actresses obviously used for sex, that same old male horribleness. But like I think a lot of times with the serial killer, it goes further than that, where the objectification becomes way beyond that of just sexual objects. And it's like how many people were murdered that we don't know about? Just like because women were disappearing all the time.
Yeah, and it's funny. That is and here's something that maybe that is one of the fundamental building blocks of sex addiction, is that the sexual act becomes so objectified in your mind, and the participants in the fantasy, whether you're looking at it or are completely objectified, and they're not people, and they're just props.
Yeah.
And in a fantasy relay, and which destroys your ability to empathize or be intimate with people. It slowly eats away at your ability to be intimate with people. That's one of the dangers of that.
Yeah.
Or too much online hijinks can start to eat away at your ability to be intimate with people.
Oh, yeah, we're going to see a lot less, I think, committed relationships in the coming decades because with the advent of pornography online, you can literally watch and sexually satisfy yourself to anything.
Yeah.
Anything you can think
And
of.
to the point
and
that
it's like, that's not realistic in life. And,
Yeah, and it's not to the point that it's literally, it becomes somewhat inescapable.
Yeah.
It's like it's not only pervasive, it's hard to avoid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very pernicious.
I always remember the movie Fame when there's that
I used
scene
to love
where-
it when I was a little kid.
Yeah, and you know that scene where
Leroy was my man.
you know that scene where
Coco has to take her shirt off?
Yeah, Coco has to take her shirt off, and the guy's filming it, and she's crying and weeping while she's doing it. I remember watching that as a kid, going, "Who wants to watch this?" But a naked girl just crying, and then I'm thinking like this foretold the internet of like. There's a million sites, I'm sure, of nakedgirlcrying.com.
Well, there's only one way to find out. Well, there's also the case of the Miss Teen Delaware, who just had to resign her crown because they found her in an amateur porn video. And it said in the article that she did it because it paid $1,500.
Yeah.
So this girl she was 18 years old. She needed $1,500.
That's $1,500 more than I would have thought she'd be paid.
Yeah.
I thought people did it for free all the time now.
I don't know. That seems like a lot to just trade out your humanity.
Because it'll never. Dan Savage said that in his when people write into him and say like, hey, I'm thinking about doing porn. He's like, well, keep this in mind. It will never go away. Never.
Yeah.
Your whole life. Never.
Yeah.
But
porn is like a skunk smell on a leather bag. You never fully get it out. I know that.
And that leather bag will follow you.
I had a skunk die under one of my apartments. And here's a little thing about skunks you don't know. Skunks have, I believe, 8 stink sacs.
Wow.
When you get sprayed with a skunk, that's usually one of their stink sacs. I personally only have 3. Skunks have 8. When they die, and this is one of my favorite sentences in the English language, they immediately release all of their stink sacs. And the stench came up through the floorboards of my apartment and woke me from a dead sleep. And it just, everything was a write-off. And I had a leather handbag, like briefcase kind of thing.
Yeah.
Gone.
So it just got into everything.
It's the most.
God.
It's the most you can get. If you're into trailer trash, in the way that hillbilly hand fishing is the most you can do of that, you can't get more white trash than hillbilly hand fishing.
Yeah.
Which seems like a weird allure to watch a show. Dumb people doing a boring thing poorly. Okay? As boring as fishing is, we found a way to do it dumber. Then skunks are like that. You can't get more stench than a dead skunk.
Wow.
Yeah. And porn is like a skunk. It gets very pervasive in that way. You can't get it out.
Yeah, and I just think it's one of those things that they should put, like if they put that sentence on billboards, if you do porn, it'll never go away.
Oh, I thought you meant they simultaneously release all their stink sacs.
Porn simultaneously, just your metaphor, rather than that sentence.
That would be great.
Like
if you're having sex with somebody for the first time and you're just about to finish, you go, I'm going to release my stink sac. What? I love you.
Well, at least,
oh, God, you're so beautiful.
He's a gentleman. You warned her.
Warned her.
Yeah.
I'm going to release my stink sac.
I think that's if you flatulence during the sexual act would probably be. But not like a yeehaw kind of way, but just like I'm sorry. Like
that
this
is
is happening.
Such a double whammy of shame for me. 1, the sex act, and 2, farting. There's really I would blow my brains out if I ever farted during sex. I don't care if I was with I wouldn't care if I was fucking the judge of a farting contest. Hey, you're having sex with the judge of a farting contest. Naturally, you fart. She reaches under the pillow and pulls up a card with a 10 on it.
Oh,
That's when you leave out "I'm sorry," and instead of saying "I'm sorry" before it, afterward you say, "Did I win?"
And curtain and scene.
That was a 10, but
really not the time. I'm off.
Well, if we have hillbilly hand fishing, are we not too far away from hillbilly swamp farts? Just a bunch of guys standing up to their belly in a swamp and then bubbles.
If you were pitching
Bubbles.
fart judging reality
Mr. Bubble,
show,
by the
you
way,
would at
I think I
least-
know more about Mr. Bubble now
You'd
than
at
I
least
knew
get
before.
a meeting to pitch.
Yeah.
For that show.
I think I would like to pitch the show Face in a Beehive and just cross the South, just any guy over and over and over.
Wasn't that a song by the English Beat? Face in a beehive. Now, are they putting their face into a beehive, or is it more of like a beard of bees gone wrong?
No, I think
Is there a way a
I
beard of
think you somehow hollow out a beehive and make a helmet.
Is there any
over
way
the
a
whole
beard
head.
of
Well, that's
bees
the winner.
doesn't go
That's
wrong?
like you. It's like you have to create your own crown.
Yeah.
You know, humans are the only mammal that has a beard of bees competition. That's why God made us the rulers. Beard of bees. Again, you go back to who was the first guy?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Skiing a black diamond slope, beard of bees. Who was the first guy? Yeah, no, that would be interesting to go back to, like, the origin of, like, the murder gene. Because we're not the only mammals that... Chimpanzees murder, I believe. Chimpanzees murder other chimpanzees.
Yeah.
People think that gorillas are mean and that chimps are kind of intellectual because of the Planet of the Apes stereotypes. Chimpanzees are horrible.
They're horrible.
Horrible creatures.
Yeah.
And they have do you know that a chimpanzee has an attack protocol? When a chimpanzee attacks you, the first thing they tend to do is they break your jaw so you can't bite them.
Yeah.
Then they tend to try at least to bite your hands off
Yeah.
so you can't attack them.
Yeah.
Then they tear off your genitals.
Yes.
Because I guess they think that after all that, you're still going to try to rape them. Chimpanzees think they are so attractive that even after they break your jaw and tear your hands off, you're still going to want to tear off a slice.
Yeah.
You know what, chimpanzees?
Get over
yourselves.
Dan, if we had the theme from The View, just kick in right there, that'd be perfect.
Hey, chimpanzees, get over yourselves. Dun-dun-dun-dun. You are not all that, nor a bag of chips. We'll be right back. Chimpanzees up in the trees. Oh yeah, that guy's gonna rape me. Totally,
Yeah.
that guy's really into me.
They all want me.
They all
and
want
when you go
me.
to the zoo, they're just all thinking that. Like, no, I just thought I'd show my kid a chimp.
I just wanted to show my kid a chimp. One of my favorite sentences, next to, they simultaneously release all their stink sacks. Well, Matt Braunger, Matt Weinhold, Michelle McNamara, you're all still suspects.
My uncle's the Green River Killer.
They reviewed that woman's case on Court TV, which I'm really obsessed with. And that woman, Nancy Grace, if you know who she is, she's great. I'm kind of into her, not in a sex way, but in like a, honey, there's a weird animal behind the trash cans. There's something about her that would look very natural, leaping out of the sweep of your headlights as you drove through the woods at night. Off to a cozy dell to shred a pine cone with small teeth. So I'm watching Court TV, and because, you're in hotels a lot when you travel, you fill the time, and they had this amazing special on the Son of Sam killings, which I'm sure you all remember. New York, 1977, David Berkowitz killed 9 women. When he was caught, his defense was his neighbor's dog became possessed by the devil and told him to kill. Here's the thing. I have 3 dogs. And I can attest, if they ever master interspecies communication, getting us to kill other people isn't the top item on their agenda. In reality, it would have gone like, David Berkowitz, you must kill.
But first, throw the tennis ball, baby. Throw it into those bushes, and then I, Satan, will pick it up with my mouth, drop it at your feet, and you will throw it again. Then kill the squirrel that lives in the garage, David. I hate that squirrel so much. That squirrel is the devil's bête noire. Then you must fry up some bacon and leave it on the porch at a height not exceeding 19 1/4 inches from the floor. I am the devil. Question not the height of my requested bacon service, David. Now, that could very well be exactly what happened. I don't know. That's not what happened. But when you think of the devil and the weapons that the devil has at his disposal, plague, famine, no, I have a better idea. I'll pretend I'm a dog and drive one guy crazy. This is going to be great. And before I am a dog, I will be a puppy! I, Satan, will be the cutest puppy of all! With floppity ears and a scratchity tum-tum and the little strand of hair off the tip of the penis. What is that? It's like a paintbrush to get dog pee on your throw pillows. Why, nature, why?
This has been the Dana Gould Hour, brought to you by the Internet. Music by Andy Paley, with Jake Posner behind the board. Produced by Jeff Fox. Graphic design and web production by Spencer Hunt and Segan Friend. Sound editing and post-production by Jalinda Palmer and Joe Napolitano. Hey, if you like the show, why don't you drop us a line at show@danagould.com. Tom Kenny speaking.
They immediately release all of their stink sacks.